قناة الصعيد، قناة مصر السابعة.
Hello, I'm Gloria Keh. I'm 68 years old. I'm an artist who's living in Singapore. It's a Sunday afternoon in Singapore. It's very hot and warm, very humid. And Singapore is a small little island in Southeast Asia. But art is very much alive here, and we get a lot of support from our government for art. I'm so happy to be able to invite you to my home, and this is where my studio is, as well as my little gallery. And I would like to talk more about my art that has formed a very important part of my life. Born in the Chinese Year of the Dragon, and that year was 1952 in Singapore. My late father, Martin Fu, who was an oil painter, was my first teacher. And as a child, growing up in a poor home where there was not much money, I sold my art as a child for $3 an artwork to supplement my pocket money. I also love to drink things like Coca-Cola and eat a lot of sweets and cakes, and because mother couldn't afford it, I sold my art to supplement my sweet cravings. As I grew up, I had to leave art for a while simply because it was very hard as an adult to earn money during those days selling art for a living. Even my father had to work as a commercial artist in an advertising agency to earn a living to keep his family. Hence I worked in things like public relations, and finally copywriter in an advertising agency, and finally as a journalist, where I took photographs, and there was this draw in wanting to go back to art. At the age of 42, I kind of like retired from the workforce to go back to school to study things like yoga and mandala art and symbolism. I pursued study of mandala art and symbolism with my teacher in Melbourne over a period of 10 years. And mandala art and symbolism forms a very important part of my spiritual art practice, because art is in fact my form of painted prayers. In 2008, I founded a charity outreach program called Circles of Love. And this is a non-profit charity outreach program where I use my art to support charities, whether they are in Singapore or overseas, to help people and to put back into the community for all the blessings that we have received. I paint just about every day of my life, even if I'm on a plane traveling. I have art materials in my handbag in a small notebook, and I make sketches or I doodle, as this gives me a lot of ideas and in fact inspires me to create more art. Art is a very interesting thing because the more you paint, the more ideas and inspirations come. I draw my inspiration a lot from literature, poetry, Mother Nature. I love to paint things like mountains, nude women in a very contemporary sense, a little bit humorous. Of course, mandalas form a very important part of my daily practice, and I keep art journals because I believe that keeping an art journal is important for your art practice. If it's a small artwork that I'm working in my art journal book, I work indoors. Otherwise, if it is a larger artwork, then I have to work outdoors in a studio. This is nice because you can paint surrounded by trees, and I have a small backyard studio, a makeshift backyard studio that I have to set up, and after painting, take it all apart again. But it's at home, and it's an environment that is close to my heart and something that I can get around with easily. I like to paint in oil as well as in acrylic. I love painting and in inks. Just about most media, watercolor. I've tried just about everything, and it depends on my moods and my inspirations. There are days you feel that you like the fluidity, the flow that watercolor would give you or inks would give you. And there's some days that you need to slow down and take it, go very contemplatively. Then oil is very nice because oil teaches you a lot of patience because you have to wait before you go back to the art again. introduce you to one of my paintings from my Wave series. This Wave series consists of 62 paintings, and it was a challenge that was posed to me by my mentor, Gregory Burns, an American painter. He said that in a thesis, doing your master's in art, you should work on a particular subject and come up with at least 30 paintings, and I decided to work on 62 paintings over a year. This is Waves of Change, and it actually consists of 9 small paintings about 10 inches by 10 inches in size, and the whole idea is that we can acknowledge and appreciate the beauty of change, and that change is inevitable and change will always come. So when I wake up in the morning, and depending on how I feel, I can change my art around to look like this, or I can move my art around to look like this. And there's so many computations that can come up, and it's something that I can play with, and I think it's very good to play with art, because as Picasso said, he took 4 years to paint like the master Raphael, but he took a lifetime to paint as a child. And I think if we have that childlike approach to art, then the art is such a expression of freedom, and that I think is very important. So it's a little board that I came up with, and this is part of my personal collection, which is called Waves of Change. And as I said, every day you can move around and play with your art. Here I am in my home studio with more paintings, as you can see. This is Bliss, and this one is called Opulence, which is a very heavy collage. I enjoy making collages. I've been very blessed in the sense that I have taken part in 80 exhibitions, both internationally as well as in Singapore. Of course, I started with group exhibitions in Singapore, and then moved on to exhibit in Europe, the United States, and Australia, and now more so in the Middle East and in the Arabic world. My first overseas solo exhibition was held in Vienna, Austria, where at the Gallery Steiner that represents me. In Singapore, I've had 2 solo exhibitions, as well as took part in loads of group exhibitions. I have exhibited in Art Expo New York, the Art Fair in Shanghai, and most recently last December at Art Basel Red Dot Miami, where it was a very big blessing to be able to sell at this very prestigious art event. I've also taken part in affordable art fairs in Hong Kong as well as in Singapore. I'm represented not just by the Gallery Steiner in Vienna, but also by Artifact in New York. Award-wise, there has been lots of blessings, and there have been 18 international awards that I have been blessed with. Starting from the first award that was in Italy, and then the most recent is the ATIM Award in New York. All in all, it has been a very rewarding journey. I paint basically for charity. 100% of the money from any sales of any of my artworks are donated to charities. I participate a lot in charity auctions, and I get invited to charity exhibitions. I feel that this is very important, and believe a lot in an old proverb that says that the hand of the giver is never empty. I plan to have another exhibition of my very large artworks. Unfortunately, the large artworks are kept in storage because they are too big for our house, and they are like 7 feet tall, so I can't have them in the house. I have visited Egypt only once, but it made a very big impression, and I particularly just love Abu Simbel. And during those days, I was a journalist. I think we're talking about more than 30 years ago. And I remember writing an article about Abu Simbel and how the statues and the entire project was moved because of the rising waters of the Nile. I also like the Valley of the Kings very much, and Kum Ombo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope that there would be more exchange between artists in Egypt as well as in Singapore, and that we could get to know more about Egyptian art and the very, very rich culture that Egypt has. Egypt is so historical and so very beautiful. We do have a few things that we bought in Egypt, like an Egyptian cat and some papyrus paintings. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Esmael and the gallery around the world, Egyptian TV channel 7. Never did I think I would appear on Egyptian television, and this is really very, very exciting for me, and I really am lost for words, and words cannot express my sincere appreciation to Esmael for his support, patience and understanding. I am not an internet savvy person, and make terrible mistakes with anything to do with the internet. So I do appreciate that support. I hope viewers would consider visiting Singapore and in the future, and making it your holiday destination. Salam, God bless, and take care and stay safe.